Okay, so let me start. So the main thing I wanted to touch base on today, we might do one or two more things depending on how well it goes and how well I continue to feel. The main key item you guys needed that was not been able to cover yet is service providers and context providers. In basic standard React, the only way to pass information from parent to child or child to parent is through a kind of like a daisy chain or relay race sort of system where you have like the pole and you start passing it down the chain, or you put down the, how do I put this, like the breadcrumbs. So you have to send down this, or you put down, just a chain. You just hand down a chain so they can pull on it, and so if they have information, they can yank on it or adjust it or send something back up the chain. In a normal system, this can get very, very, I don't want to say, hard to manage because you have to clarify in each component the prop to send the data or the method down, function down, and then in each other one, if even the second one down the chain, let's say that one does not care about that data at all, it still has to remember to take that information or that function and pass it down to any child props that need that information. And this will become a very large spider web of trying to maintain and manage a bunch of passing down, and then who actually is going to call it, and where up the chain does it go. And so what service providers and context providers provide, it provides a kind of, it provides a component that's sole job is to listen for who wants the information and who edits the information. So the content, make sure I get the right one. Let me put notes quick. Where did my Visual Studio Code go? Question?
No, I finally got my thing working.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, oh, it was a huff, and I'm like, uh-oh.
No, I'm huffing at my own stupidity.
Jesus.
Hey, it's one of my favorite pastimes.
There you go.
It wasn't able to authorize it, so.
Gotcha. Let's make sure I got everything I need here. So yes, so you have the context and the provider, two separate components. The context is a system that's surrounding it surrounds a component or components, and then anything inside can then call or pull or create a provider. And if it has a provider in it, it can then sit the context provider like, oh, you want this information or these methods, these functions, here, I'll give them to you. And I'll bypass any components in the way and just give it to you. And so then that system with the provider can then utilize that either data or methods or both. And so you can send down, you can have, this is the way you can have global state now without needing a tool such as Redux or having to, again, send your information down a spider web of components. I'm trying to remember where it went and how it went. So. I'll share my screen quick. There it is. All right. That. Is this it? Yeah. It's not it.
No.
Demo. There it goes. All right. So let's just for a quick second, under our components, I'll go ahead and do components, new folder, developers. As we're used to, we need a singular developer, and then our list. We got JS on that one. All right. I'm going to do some simple stuff. Our standard placeholder code. So when knowing that this is going to be inside of developers, we'll put it as an H2. And developers, I'll then go ahead and do. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the code from the other one. Also going to do this. Down. And export both. Don't forget to export. All right, so in order for a developer to display any information that we have, we need to, of course, pull developers down from our server. Because of that, we know that that's going to happen in developers via a use effect. That. We'll list of developers. And we will use state to store developers. In order to get the developers, what do we need on our system? Is our developer list a public URL? Anybody remember?
Developer system. Yeah,
It was public?
I think so.
Fortunately, it was not. Only test date. Remember, only the API/test was our public route.
Oh, that's right. We put that in was that in web security config? Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Which I've got to get IntelliJ running. I don't think I do. I do not. Make sure your backend is running, of course. We'll paste. /developers. And there we go, unauthorized. So we need our security token. We need our authentication token. And now, if we want to get that, we don't currently have a login system yet. We have the new user form. The new user does log. The new user system does log the user in. We'll just use that for now. And I will create that tomorrow as an extra video for something yet. This new user. There it is, register. So, right here, we get our token right here under login. And then developer has it, and once that finishes, we're done. We have our person logged in, and we have a token. So we have our token. We could actually start storing that. So we could have state here and store it. Record const token state. String, or honestly just null would be better. Null. Here. Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Look at that. The problem is though, I need that elsewhere. So can I get access to this token from, let's say, app router? So here is where I would need to be able to send it. So route path equals /developer element. So is there any way for me to pull from this register app, this register element right here by a token? Nothing, you can't think of anything, right? Because I haven't taught you any way of doing it. So if some of you actually knew how to do it, I'd be impressed. I
would,
can't
well,
pull.
Well, my question is, I was thinking about that. I was like, isn't there a way of, well, I thought it was in a way of just running a function to be able to call it from somewhere and pull it back from within from the developer.
So yes, we would need that here. So I would need to be able to start here. I would do the use state here now. So instead of use state developer, I would do use state here. Do a const token set token here. And now to register, we would send down token equals token. And developers equals developers. Oh no, not that. Set token. Now, any page that needs this, I can do the same thing. So here in developers now, if we know that that needs it, so I'm going to do token equals token. Token, and so on and so on. And this is where it can get very difficult to maintain if you have multiple components deep. Right now, our application is very, very simple. We have a page, and we load that page, and that's it. But the more complex we get, the more we have to keep sending this token down the path. So geek outs, same thing, token and set token. Creating a geek out, token and set token. Viewing a geek out, token and set token. Viewing all of them, token and set token. Viewing one, token and set token. Liking one, token set token. I'm passing it down the chain. Some of them, I guess, I don't need to send down the set token, I guess, because I'm not there changing it. That would just be accessed by the logout. But I'm passing token everywhere and utilizing it as a prop. And so you have to remember every single time, do props.set token or props.token. If I have access to it, I have to remember which ones have access to the token or to the set token. And that can be, and that's just the one item that we're sending down to other things. That can get excessive with other situations, especially once you start adding admin pages, and let's say you have forms that have drop-down menus that use this, that are generated because you have a collection of data. So our languages, our list of languages, we pull that from our backend, right? So that's something if we have multiple forms now where we're putting languages in, let's say a search field, a create a geek out, a list geek outs, a admin form to delete a language or add a new language or anything like that, where we need these lists. We need to keep we're going to keep using Axios to constantly pull this item down from the system, or we pull it down once when the website loads and just send it as a provider to wherever it's needed to make sure we save ourselves that issue, having to re-pull this information multiple times in different locations. So there's multiple reasons why you would want to use a provider and a context provider. Main thing is just you don't have to type this so many times, because this is going to be excessive, because most of our site, all of our routes, most of our routes require the token. And this can be very excessive. Let's get rid of those token set token effects and stuff like that. We don't want to use those. I'm going to comment that one out. So instead, what we're going to do, we're going to create our providers. So under components, new folder, providers. This is where all your application level state goes, or also the data, or any data that you want to have in multiple locations that aren't necessarily connected. instead of having a spider web. JS. We need state, 'cause this is gonna be a global type of state. Why is it yelling at me? Did I type it wrong? Oh, comma. All right. Do auth context. Go to React dot create context with small c. What we're going to do is we're going to give it an array of this create context. We can give it any information we want. We can have it just be a context of static data. This could be a constant context. It just provides static data. But I can also give this context the ability to have a state. It can hold state. Remember that state is held by an array that has an object, has a data type, and then the function, right? The array where your first element is the data type, or the data, and the second one's the function to change it. And that's why we use these brackets here, because it's an array that is returned. We'll put an array in there, let let the React context know that you're going to be storing an array. We haven't given it to you yet because we haven't created the item yet. We are doing it. Now for the provider, take props. We're not going to give it any this time, but just be aware that the auth provider is going to be a component on the high level, and you can give it props in order to, in case let's say you need information to set it up, or you need to pass something down to set it up and configure it, it can set itself up, configure itself. Like you can set up some options for it or something. You can send information down. Let's set off. I don't think we're going to do auth just to say tokens. I don't think we're going to store anything else auth related other than the token, aren't we? Are we? Can't think of anything else auth related we're going to be storing. Unless we want to also store the name of the person so we can call them by name as they browse the site. Yeah, let's do that. That way it's feeling a little more complex. It does mean in our login system, we'll need to make sure we do provide the name if we move forward. So when the person logs in, we provide the name of the user as well. We might decide to get rid of that, but for the moment, just we'll keep it. It's fine. This is a data collecting provider. That makes sense. So this is one of those ones, like I said, this is going to be your language list provider. So this is going to pull down all your languages one time and then send it or provide it to any form anywhere on the site. If you have multiple forms that is asking for the language, said the registration form, you could ask for the languages. Your geek outs can ask for the language related to this form. So you say, hey, what is geek out you're talking about? What language is it referring to? Things like that. So you might have that language drop down menu in multiple locations. So you would need that language list in other locations. You can put the use effect method here to go ahead and pull the languages from the backend and then store it yourself before you start providing it. This one, this is just a data provider. So there's no extra logic we need, but any other logic can go here. And again, this is a component. So anytime auth changes, it's going to run any of the code here. So that's what this logic is for. But anytime auth set auth is run, do something. But if you don't need it to do anything, then you don't. All I'm going to do is return. The only component I'm going to return is something called the auth context dot provider value This is where it's expecting something, and we're going to give it categories. Definitely notes one thing. No, I have the same thing open twice. How do I do that? The array of off. You don't have to send an array. You can send a singular item if, like in the languages thing, since the forms won't be editing the language list. Your provider could just provide the data. Doesn't have to provide the array with both elements. You only do that if you actually need those things. You only put here what information the systems down the line are going to need. In this case, we do need to make sure our registration system can change the auth, whereas everyone else is probably just going to access the auth. But we do need both in child components to be able to run. And the last thing is just jobs.children. Last thing we do, we don't actually export default this time because there's two things we have to export. We have to export the auth provider and the auth context. And so we use this object syntax, where if you put a variable inside of an object and you don't do the colon and put something else, it's just going to create a key with the same name. So it's another nice JS, JavaScript, ES6 syntactic sugar here. If you have a JavaScript object and you give it a variable with no colon or anything like that, the variable will, JavaScript will automatically create a key with the same name as the variable. Kind of useful, right? So doing this is identical to doing auth provider equals that. I had that highlighted. Not that. Like it. That's weird. I'll look at that later. We'll look into it now. That's technically what we're doing here. We're providing both items. We're sending down two elements. So you know how here we can do a React, use state, use effect, all those things. That's technically what you see in those. It's gonna be very, very similar to this. That's why we can pull multiple things out of React. So got that. Save it. Now let me make sure we put the this quick. What I want to do here is want to make sure we put this auth provider somewhere high up. So that way the auth provider can send and can quote provide the information to the child components. That's where we get this from. That was at least the mentality of the naming convention. The auth provider is the component that will provide the information to any child components that use the context. Say, hey, in this context, I need this information. It's kind of the idea of naming. At least that's what I came up with the name. This one I'm a little confused with the terminology there, but whatever. It is what it is. For me, I just went to the for auth because it's such a high level item. This is something I pretty much added to the app.js. So just like we had browser router. So browser router is actually a provider. And all of the router components are what utilize it and pull from browser router what it needs in order to run. provider. And right here under the browser router, we'll go ahead and add it, make sure it wraps the auth router. Good, wrong thing. There we go. By doing that, any component now down the chain of app router can import the auth context and use it to pull the information. Notes down. Yes, got it.
Was that kind of just, does the auth provider context kind of make all the, like, I would say variables in the components like public, so they all can pull from wherever they want to?
Yes and no. Like I said, you do have to ask for it, so it's not fully
Okay.
public. So it's not just there now. You do have
Oh,
to
all right.
ask for it by bringing in the context and saying use, and we're going to use a new item called use context. So in
Okay,
our register now, up here in import React, we're also going to do use context, because now we're down the chain. We're also going to import from providers/operator the auth context. And right underneath query set query, we're now going to do const auth set auth equals use context auth context. And so that's going to pull that value element out of the auth context that we generated here. This is going what when it use context says, hey, grab the value from the auth context provider, which is this right here. And so we're able to pull it out and use it now. All we're going to do next is down in our create developer, we're now going to do set auth comma rest.data.name. Name. That comes from the developer. This is creating the developer, so this is going to return the new developer information. Last thing I'm going to do to prove that this works is over on home. So this is not really going to make sense because this is where we have that listing showing. Actually, no, let's go to developers on it. We're going to go back to developers actually. Context. We're not going to bring in setup. Oop, I forgot to import context. Sign helps. Use context off the context, but we're only going to bring in the actual auth. We're not going to bring in the set off because we're never going to use it here, which means in register, I guess, I don't necessarily need it, but since it's an array, not an object, I have to take the first index. So what I could do here is just use like an underscore or something to say, I'm going to grab it, but I don't care what it is. Not common. But here we can, so I only want to use the, not here. Here is we only care about the one item, which again, I'm going to bring over here. I got to not use the right-hand side. My videos, there's the you guys on the right-hand side. I got to be careful of that. Feel free to remind me of that if I'm doing a lot of the code on the right-hand side. Remind me to go ahead and move it. I do forget that sometimes because you guys aren't there. I put you guys on my other screen, so. All I'm going to do here is do developers. Go ahead and add. I didn't feel good enough to make that stupid div component I wanted, container component. I forgot something. This right here. So from news, I'm just grabbing the div there. Auth.name. All right.
Um,
That's all we're doing right now.
Okay.
Stop for a second. I can pull up any of the files again so I can look at auth provider, app.js.
So the, go to the auth provider.
Sure.
So we're saying here, and I'm just trying to like understand what you're doing here.
Oh, yes, please.
So you're bringing in the props, you're gonna be setting the auth to token and name. So the token is coming from the back end, and that's the actual token from the
And it's getting set by
the
register.
JSON response that you get back from the bearer token.
Yep.
Okay, so you get that token, that populates that by set. And it'll also populate the name field with set. So we get
Yeah.
those two set. And
For
then
now it does.
yeah, for now it does. So you get that, so that will, but then, so now props.children can go back and look at auth and grab these two pieces of information.
Mhm. By
Down
the
to-
context, because the context knows where it is, and the auth context here knows where it is, and is
Yeah.
able to use it.
Okay. So this is, like, yeah, so like I was kind of right, like kind of in saying that you can choose which variables throughout your chain here, which ones you want public or which want to pass through as a
Yeah.
public open thing instead of being all private like the normal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And put it all, to make sure it's really clear again, all of this is under the context system. It's all about, it's concept of like, things should be available within context.
No, okay, yep.
The term provider is just, it's something inside of the auth context. So that's the main concept to keep in mind. So this is a component that just has the context inside that the auth context dot provider inside. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing I just want, and it just, I'm just wanted to make, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but just to be clear, the word auth provider, I could make it like if I was doing a zoo, like animal provider, and I was just looking for one particular animal through it, and I would just set those two as set dog, set and
Yep.
dog or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. You can use this for static data. And again, that static data could be configured by the prop. So
Yeah.
you can have a setting at the beginning, send it in, create a variable here, equal it to something, and then do your animal provider dot animal context dot provider value in that variable.
Right. Okay.
And with that variable, it will never change because it's a const.
Right. Okay.
Because that'll never trigger a re-render. At least with the set off, it's a state item that can go down the chain. So this is going to trigger re-renders for whatever is using it. This can be really, really powerful.
Cool.
Again, I'm going to show you in 2 seconds because we want that developer button in our form, in our, what's it, nav bar to only show later, but we're not going to do that yet. Hold on. Now I'm going to make sure that our developer button is there at all times. So now, developer button to our nav bar.
Oh, that's nav bar.
Yeah, sorry. I'm also going to do npm start now. Our developers thing. If I go to developers right now, it doesn't show anything for some reason. Did I not save it?
Oops.
Oh, I didn't actually put it there. Right. Did I? I thought I did.
Could you go back to the nav bar when you have a second?
Developers. I can.
Okay, cool.
Copy that. Go back to the router, I guess. Oh, I did developer, not developers. Go back to make sure your router does developers.
I was just about to say that I found.
Thank you.
Ah.
I'm like, why is it not working? There we go. That'll do it. There it is. So we're able to see hello and no name because we're not logged in. Our auth provider, our auth context doesn't have a name yet. Any files you want to look at, Matt?
Ah, Let me see. I think I'm okay.
All right.
Because when we click on developer, it's not going to do anything yet, right?
Well, it's just going to show developers and then hello, and then if
Ooh, I
there's a
don't have.
name,
I
double
don't have
check
that.
your app router because I did app router as developer, not developers.
Oh, wait a minute.
There's nothing there because it's currently set to null, right?
Right. They're saying hello, nothing because currently name is null because we're not logged in. But Matt is saying he's got nothing at all. And
Oh,
again, I didn't either. 'Cause
oh,
my
nope,
path was developers.
Yep, I brought the wrong one in.
Okay. That'll do it too.
Instead of developer. Okay.
Good.
Refresh. Yeah, there it is. Now I have the hello. Oh, good.
Good.
I
So now
like
let's
it
go
when it's
ahead and
something neat.
sign up again and create a new account. So we'll do the Ken test and test, and we'll do 4. You see, we get the ID back. And now that I registered, the set token should have been triggered. If I go back to developers now, there's my name. My auth is now set up. I'm also going to choose you. Do I want to talk about that? Yeah, I should. Yeah, we should do this. The other thing I'm going to do is introduce something else. Manage extensions. So from your browser, go to extensions.
1 second. But
Got
when
it.
you went to developers, yeah, mine does not. Mine says undefined.
Undefined.
Mine says hello undefined.
Your create developer does create the developer account. We get back the number. You get back the
Yes.
number, right?
Yes.
That would tell you that name is undefined. So what it's doing is this response.data.name is undefined.
Yes.
Name is. Make sure on submit data.name equals query.fname plus query.lname. You have that in your on submit.
On the what file?
Register.js.
Register. 1 second. Let me find that.
I could have just pulled that too. I didn't need to pull the one from the response.
Register.js. And
The
that
onSubmit
is
function.
on submit. Data.name equals query.fname plus query.lname, but fname doesn't. Is that not a thing?
Should be up in the register
oh.
thing. We had fname and lname.
Oh, that's why. I didn't camel case fname.
I didn't either. It's all small. I did fname.
Well, mine was, but
yeah, it would matter.
in the concatenation call, it was not. So
yep. Gotta match it.
let me try this again.
Do that again. We want to go to extensions. I'm trying to remember how to pull this. Yeah. I want you guys to get React developer tools from the store. So go to extensions in your browser. So the little plugin here, go to manage extensions. Menu here, open Chrome Web Store and do React developer tools.
Aha, there it is.
code goes. 1 second. All right, so yeah, as long as you're in a developer mode. All right, so like I said, you want to get the React developer tools from your Chrome Web Store or Mozilla Web Store. You can, if you do the React DevTools extensions on GitHub, you can find the link for the one you want. So Chrome or Firefox. You just click on that to get it. So you can get the Firefox
I
add-on or
like
the
the
Chrome Web
third
Store
one.
add-ons.
Third one's my favorite.
Yeah,
Oh,
we get
was
it on
it?
Edge. Ooh.
I ignored that completely. Please take note.
I want an Opera one.
Oh, Jesus.
They just came out with a new browser.
Well,
Yeah,
when-
a gaming focused one. Very,
oh,
very
I've
interesting.
been using that for the past couple of years. It's really cool.
I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah,
The last Opera browser that I heard of was for the Nintendo DS, so that's going back a while.
Jesus.
yeah. No, the gaming one has built-in VPN. You can turn it on and off, and you can
Mhm.
throttle how much memory it runs, how much CPU it's using. You can really really fool around how it operates.
Cool. Talk about that more after the class.
Right.
Already at 8:30, so.
Yeah.
So again, grab this extension and add it to your browser. Make sure it's enabled so that you see the little dev tool icon in the upper right. Now, whenever you're on a React app, it's going to highlight red over here or blue whenever you're able to use it. So you can see React Developer Tools has access to the site. If I go to inspect now, or view developer tools, that you expect. One of the options up here
Ooh.
now is going to be components and profiler. And now we can see I have a React-friendly view of all my components from React, including my provider, the route provider, the context provider, auth provider. The auth provider here, context provider, there it is, has values. There's my values: name, clip 10 text, test, and token. So I can now monitor and see how these things are working. So now if I go back to sign up again, let's see, let's create a new person. 11 test. .com. Test 11. Click submit. We can see that my system now updated again. And I have Cliff 11 test here, and I have a new token. So this is really useful for debugging your systems. Look good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You also have the profiler, which allows you to monitor the data inside of a specific component that you're in. So I actually don't know what this does nowadays, now that we use the hooks. So I'm not familiar with this one currently. I've been mostly just using the other one, but I believe that this will actually record changes. So when you do the set off, or anything like that, it'll actually notice it. So we actually go to our news for a second. I will have to remember this later, but I'll have to figure out what the profiler does now. It's nothing I've used much, but because I tend to just use
Just
the
push
components.
just push record and then just run the app for a second or two. Probably just
I
record
did.
what it does.
Yeah,
So,
no
no,
tracking
push
anything.
record.
Yeah, I did. It's
Oh.
got the yellow here. So, oh wait, you're right. It isn't recording yet. Ah, okay. Home news, not really showing anything.
Yeah, look, well, and then stop it and see what it'll do. There you go.
Oh,
Ooh.
hey, that's cool. Okay.
Looks like Adobe
Ah.
Premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's checking to see
Oh
what
my
is
God,
and isn't
don't remind
rendering
me.
and stuff. Interesting.
I have a history with Adobe Premiere.
You didn't have it in college.
And I can tell you how long it takes for things to
Oh.
load too. Interesting. Not render. Interesting. All right, so look at. 1 second. 1 second. Nice. The next thing we're also going to add to this quick, just to showcase stuff, is in our nav bar. We only want developers to show up when they're logged in, and we also want a log out button to show up when they're logged in. But these should only show up when they're logged out. So again, in our nav bar now, let's go ahead and pull the context again. So use context and import providers and bring in our auth context again. Again, we're just going to bring in off, close it. That's close. Use context, off context. And here we're just going to do a conditional statement or a ternary expression to decide what to load. So after news, off.token, remember null is false. So we can do off.token question. If yes, if we have a token, if we're logged in, we're going to display the nav button to developers. Otherwise, if they are not logged in, yep, wrong one, parentheses, we're going to pull in the login and register nav buttons.
Okay.
Now here you're going to see a slight problem. We mentioned this before. Anytime we're returning anything, we need all those components to be in one system, one component, one parent component or tag. Our two nav buttons are not a parent tag. We don't want another tag or a div surrounding them because that's going to throw off our styling. So this is the perfect time to introduce that concept known as fragment. So React has a component called fragment, which is used to encompass components, but it won't render anything to the actual website, so nothing will mess with the CSS. So fragment is a component tag for React so that React can take multiple components, but it will not actually render anything to the HTML, so it won't mess with the CSS or the styling or the font layout. Fragment is a safe way to contain components without messing with your layout or messing up with your styling by having to just wrap them in a div or something. All right.
It's a placeholder instead of a div.
Exactly. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. Now, if I go back to my screen, we will see I can no longer see the login and register buttons.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how cool is that?
Awesome. And so these are the kind of the techniques that we have available to us. Last thing we're going to do today is just pull the developers from our system. So over here in developers, let's go ahead and do use effect. Also going to do use state, so you can store the developers. And I'm also going to show you guys in this video how to use the font awesome, so we can use the spinner in case you guys want to add it to your project. Again, you do not have to follow these steps if you don't want to use the spinner. You can just use the loading text if you want. But this you can use for reference if you want to add font awesome to your project. If you want to use font awesome, let's stop our project and do npm I. Hate these. I actually don't like the items, so. So the main minimum item you must have is the Font Awesome SVG core. So this is the first package you must have in order to use it. You then also need to bring in at least one library, which is this one here. This brings in the free solid SVG icons. I actually don't recognize that one. Oh, you also need this as well. So it's useful in React. So you get the React components for it. So icon and stuff like that as well. So you need all three of these packages minimum in order to utilize Font Awesome. You can bring in any others. So you got free brands SVG icons, free regular SVG, and they also have the light and duo tones for Pro, solid, regular, light, and Pro if you do pay for the Font Awesome Pro. But I will say, see here, there's more additional configurations that these installs in the system will be able to utilize because you need to provide a key that proves you're Pro. So do not worry about that. We'll go ahead and copy these 3 lines, paste them into our code, into our terminal.
Could you put those in chat or in the
Yeah.
Slack? Or? Thanks.
If someone wants to share it with Zoom, you can. With Slack, you can. That's why I want to show you. You can just do npm. You can just do Google search for Font Awesome React if you want. So
Separate them, that's fine.
And one by one. You want to check to make sure you always got them. Always good to check. Just click package JSON and make sure you got the 3 font awesome libraries. That's all.
Okay, packaged. Yep, nice.
Now to use them, you can't just use them out of the box, but it causes them to be a little slow and a little laggy. So a smart thing to do in this is actually to create the Font Awesome library, which will load a bunch of items into your React's cache. Do that. We'll go to app.js. Import at awesome SVG core. I'm going to bring in the library. I'm also going to import FAS, which is your Font Awesome solid icons. It's the common syntax for it. 3 solid SVG icons. Library. Add FAS. I will say though, you can definitely pull individual images if you want to. So if I comment here and take a look, oh, it's not pulling it. Oh, there they are. FA, so FA archway, FA arc down circle. I could bring in specific icons. So if I know I'm only ever going to use the spinner, I could do FA spinner and just load to the library the spinner. FAS is the whole library of all the icons. If I don't know how many I want and I don't want to have to pick specific ones and load them one by one, I can just load the whole library, or I can load individual items. I'm lazy and like to just do the whole library because then I don't have to come back later and do it later. I don't have to come back later to add other icons as I want to use them. I did this for I did do the pulling specific icons from when I did do the brand library. So again, be aware, the brands item is free. So if you want like a Twitter icon, a Facebook icon, a LinkedIn icon, or any sort of social media icons, or even icons for companies like Apple, Samsung, all those, they have a lot of them. So icons. Where are the brands? Here. So yeah, here are the brand icons. So you can see YouTube, Twitter, Google, Facebook, Weibo, Apple, Kickstarter. So they got like 450 brand icons that I think are free. This can be really useful. With this one, I did bring in only the ones I wanted. So I only brought in like for one of the projects I was using, I brought in the LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook icons only because there's a lot here, 450 icons, and I know I'm not using them all. So they even have one for Critical Role. Wow. They do have a lot of brands. Okay. Dungeons and Dragons Beyond. Oh wow, their icons are really growing. Okay. Miriam, Early Bird.
We have Git in here, GitHub. There's Git.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't surprising for me, but yeah, they have them. So,
Fantasy Flight Games has one.
There's a good chance that if there's a company or something that you want to connect your project to, there's very likely that there's an icon here for that, the Galactic Republic. That's awesome. Yeah, Star Wars icons now. God damn. All right. Be fun just going through here to see what they have. Jenkins? Isn't Ask Jenkins dead? That's Jeeves, I'm thinking. Never mind. Who's Jenkins?
Jenkins,
Jeeves.
the automation tool.
Ah, okay. They have an icon for the Jedi Order. All right. You can see we have a couple of fun people working on these brand icons. I don't think the Jedi Order is an actual brand. I'm not aware of a company called the Jedi Order.
If Disney can sell it, they definitely will.
Well put.
Fair. Fair point.
Very, very good point. Yep, I'll give you that one. But yeah, if they're the company you want to connect with or use. So I know, again, Matt, you're dealing with music stuff. So music mix cloud, probably SoundCloud's in here, things like that. So
Napster's in here.
what? Oh God, it is.
Hamster.
Jesus Christ.
What
There's
year is
MBN.
this? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to have, yeah, pretty much here. 459 icons, and
also
there's
had
definitely
Red
fun
Hat.
ones and rare ones. Really? There you go.
Mm.
Open hat.
Oh yeah, right over there.
Bottom left.
Oh, they got Steam too. Ah.
There you go. No one here is doing games
Steam
though.
on
So
the
it doesn't
third
matter.
page. That's funny.
Yeah, right there on the left.
PlayStation.
How did I miss the
There it is,
Steam
yeah.
logo? Come on now.
It's on the third page.
You're slacking.
Slack's probably in here too.
Yeah, Slack is
There it
Hey,
is,
Reddit.
yep.
This Reddit. This PlayStation. Python.
on the upper left hand, upper right hand corner.
Stack Overflow.
Oh, there
We
it
have
is.
we have 3 different Steam. We have Steam, Steam Square, and Steam Symbol. We have fancy with Steam.
Can somebody tell me what Red Yeti is?
Telegram.
USB. Pretty cool.
Twitch.
Wizards
Yep,
of the
we got
Coast.
Twitch. Wizards of the Coast. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. So yeah, if you're working with something, you got some pretty good options here. So, but again,
Cool.
all these icons are SVG, so they all are sizable. They won't go all pixelated. Very, very useful. Fun, awesome.
You can make a memory square game out of these icons.
Those are good. But there we go. So with the library set up with our FAS system now, with this now, you can actually, just by doing this, these 2 lines here and the imports, you now can use the 2 FA common components that I gave you. So FA button and spinner. You can now utilize these because these utilize the Font Awesome React Font Awesome to get the icon component.
Ah,
So you have the Font Awesome icon component that takes icon, whether or not it spins, so you give it the FAS, then spinner, so you want that, and that's been loaded in the system, the FAS, so you give it library, and then the icon name. So the FAS library, and then the icon name is spinner. Here I can tell it does spin, so it will spin, so you can spin any one you want, so you can have a spinning Twitch logo if you want. And then style, you just give it a style of a standard CSS styling because it's treated like font. So give it font size to change the size of the font of the icon, get margin, style, and you'll get a spinner. With that in mind, if I go to developers now. Developer. State. An array. Loading. Set loading. That's you.
thanks.
Let's see.
Thanks.
sir.
Tried to hit the mute on the microphone, did not work.
All good.
Been there before.
All I'm gonna do here is do a ternary loading. Yes. Import spinner. If we are loading, render the spinner. Not the moment, we're just going to render our hello.
I love those ternary expressions. It's like a portable if statement.
Mhm. And they are very, very necessary in React because again, in between these curly brackets, it's 1 line of code. Ternary expressions make it so it seems like more.
Yeah.
And if your if statement gets complicated, too complicated for a ternary to look good, you can always just make a function that returns a component. So ternaries are very common in React.
Cool.
Mhm. All good?
Almost.
All right. Just to see the spinner in action, by the way. Oh, I need npm start again. Dang it. There it is. Nice little fancy spinner.
I'm not running it.
Yeah, I had the same thing. npm start.
IntelliJ has spoiled me with being able to edit and
Just
see that it's doing the thing. And
Yep, it does.
Doesn't work like that anymore.
no.
Uh-oh. Could you go back to where were we? The developers page, please?
Right here. Ah.
It doesn't like my spinner.
I know that you had some issues when you loaded from my GitHub. You want to double check, make sure you have the spinner code. Looks like this.
Those
The FA common.
FA
folder.
common. FA common, there it is. I do have spinner. Oh. Probably
Oh.
because I didn't.
What did you do?
Oh, I just didn't import it. That's fine.
That'll do it.
I'll do it every time.
That does, yep. All good.
Yeah, I just have to sign
Except-
up again.
I like using the spinner on buttons as well. So that if I hit that sign up button, it'll actually spin while it's sending out the information. One thing I didn't review with you guys though on the form, by the way, something you might want to think about with your personal projects for the registration form and the new user form. We can send down we can create like a submitting context. With the submitting context, you can send that down to the form and you can disable the button. My buttons have it disabled that if submitting, one, disable it, and two, put the ternary in here that if submitting, show the spinner, otherwise show the submit word. So you can do disabled submitting. That way, if they are submitting, disabled is true. If they're not submitting, disabled is false. And here you can then put the disabled submission to either show the text of submit or the spinner instead. Again, I might update my code to showcase that later if I'm feeling up to it, but those are the things to consider. My components that I'm sharing with you guys have that capability. Same with all the inputs. All the inputs, they have the disabled field in there as well. So if you wanted to disable text fields while it's submitting as well, you can do the same thing. My input, see, disabled right there. So once the person clicks that submit button, you can set submitting to true. And then as long as submitting is being sent down to all the input fields, you can make sure that everything disables while it's submitting. So that way they can't try to change things or double submit. And then either on error or on success of create developer, you can then undisable submit. Trying to remember one last thing I want to make sure people know. You guys know, I'm gonna pull my notes quick. One last thing I want to introduce here on our register, and this is something we really should do. Once we get our token, we should redirect them back to the home screen, right? Or at least to developers. And so one item we have is a component called redirect. Should be there. You're not loading it.
Just from React Router, not from the DOM.
Oh, right, React Router, not DOM. Right. React Router. That's 1 second. Did I forget a package for the React router? Go check my notes. 1 second.
I was wondering about that. I was when I was going through and doing this, I was like, a React router DOM. I'm like, what about React router? What's the difference between React router DOM versus React router?
It's not in my head. I cannot remember that. 1 second though.
And I was looking it up. One of them was like the React router was like a superset of the React router DOM or something like that. It's like one of those. But
Right. What's interesting is that I've never actually used both React Router and React Router DOM. So I'm trying to remember how I did it before. Hold on. Second. No, there should be a redirect inside of React Router DOM. I'm literally looking at it in my old code. Is my npm IntelliSense
Right,
just not
yeah.
working?
no, you're right. I got this one from the. I'm looking at the webpage. It says redirect with capital R from React router DOM.
We will try it. I'm not sure why it's not, my IntelliSense isn't pulling it, but I'm used to it being there, so I'm just going to trust my personal understanding. So how the redirect component works is that if it renders to the page, it's going to redirect the user to the page, to its destination address. So we need to make sure that it only renders on the return thing here if the user is logged in. We can just use the ternary expression, right? Problem is, we don't actually have access to, oh, we do have the auth here, right? So we have access to the auth. So we can just say, hey, if we have a token, if auth.token is present, they're logged in, send them over to developers. We'll do the ternary expression. .token. If present, we direct to developers. Else, no, don't display anything. And so this tag will only display if this item is true. And that's the idea. If, as long as the redirect tag doesn't get loaded to the screen, it will not run. As soon as it gets loaded, it will redirect. Let's be sure that actually works. It is not liking it. Did they pull that out? Oh, dang it. Wonderful. Do I have to bring in React Router now? I'm wondering if they separated the systems and pulled some of the stuff in the React Router now. It's not found in React Router DOM. Dang it. Oh. Yeah. I got Medium articles that say it's still there. And the new React Router DOM of React.js. To use with router now? Oh, come on. No, no, looks like you might have to bring in React Router now. That's not what I wanted, but can.
And the other one I remember, and this is what I remember for the other one, was use history.push to go like to a different, to push
What was
to
it
a
again?
different route.
What was that?
History.push to go to a different, to push it to a different page, to a different
Yeah.
route. But I don't know how that's different from using redirect.
I'm gonna have to look into new ways of actually doing redirect now, because I'm not, this is the way I was familiar with it. I also want to find out if using React Router and React Router DOM is the same, because I'm familiar with React Router DOM. I have used React Router as well, but I knew React Router DOM was a bit simpler, so. Peek at this.
What was the React, what was your router page, router, redirect, line of code?
Just redirect to.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
shit.
on this page I saw, it looks exactly like that's how you're supposed to write it. And
What the hell's wrong with
Yeah.
this?
Starting to think React Router might just be the newer version of React Router DOM, because React Router also uses browser router and also has routes and stuff like that. So you may want to, you could try, oh, no, it looks like, yeah, React Router and React Router DOM are used interchangeably. What the? Okay. React Router is relying npm. Yeah, so npm install React Router DOM. Interesting. Route. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this later to figure out what the hell happened to redirect.
yeah, because it's not listed in the possible exports, and it's not listed.
Yeah, no, it's not. That threw me for a loop there, because I'm used to having it there, and that's where it was before. So, dang it.
Yeah, they keep changing it, updating.
That is something you got to get used to, including a lot of things, including Java
Yeah.
as well. Things update, and you got to look up at the documents and see, well, how do I do it now?
Yeah,
It's very possible they moved redirect to the React Router package and not the React Router DOM.
I loaded both of them up because I thought, but hold on.
Strange.
Yeah, router.
Let's see, navigating programmatically. Let's see. Called navigate. No. What's that? Oh, it has to use navigate now. So React Router DOM navigates. They've added a hook. Interesting. Navigate. Okay, take a look at what I'm doing. Let navigate. Navigate. And then instead of a component now, we can just do it with code. And so here, once we do the set auth and the alert, we can go ahead and do navigate / developers.
Okay.
That's how they changed it. So they decided to add in their own hook now.
Could you go back up to the top of register for a
course.
second, please?
Yep,
Thank
I was planning to. Yeah, so you do the use navigate hook now, apparently. Everyone's switching to hooks.
Okay.
Most likely this is pulling resources from the browser router component, because browser router is a provider. So we now pulling the navigate context, most likely.
Okay.
And then we just add to our create developer method. When we're done with everything, we then actually send them to the developers tag, or URL or path. That's the word. That's words.
And that's just navigate, open close parentheses, /
And then
developers.
the path. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the path we want to send them to. So let's save that. Let's test it out. So I'm gonna go to my sign up. Do cliff 12, because I did 11 last time.
Hey, cool.
Submit, we get the number, and I get rerouted to developers immediately. And so this is a common practice you want to see, being able to redirect or send your users after certain activities. This is definitely something you want, as once they're signed in, you don't want to keep, or once they've registered or logged in, you don't want to keep showing that form. So this is a very common practice. I just wanted to take care of that. I'm surprised they decided to upgrade that to a hook, but hey, it's not that difficult. I actually prefer to not have a React component, because then you have to make sure you're not accidentally loading that component to the screen. Otherwise, every time you go to your screen, you're suddenly on the other one. It was really confusing sometimes. Like, wait, why am I here? How did I get here? So I do like that. I actually think I like the programming system a little better. So let's go ahead and finalize our system by just bringing in our developers list. So back on developers now. Let's make sure we can load them. So effect. Get developers. We're going to need Axios. Make sure Axios gets imported. We get //localhost API/developers. Again, we know we need to add the headers, our authorization headers. So we need to do this need again, do different lines. Here we'll do bracket, do headers, authorization. The backtick trick, so we can do the string interpolation. So we do the backticks.
I think the route is developers, not
Oh, it is.
developer.
Good, thank you. Keep doing that. You are 100% right. We'll do bearers and $ bracket. Ah, too many. Token from our context. So you have our auth token from the context provider on line 7. At the same time, remember this is a what's what I'm looking for? Get. One thing I want to point here is, so if I look at get, I want to show this thing right here. So this is the term right here. See this word promise. So this is a concept where the function promises to either finish or fail, and it will do something after it finishes or fails. And it's not going, it's a asynchronous item that it will do what it's doing until it finishes. It will let the rest of the code go. So you see this concept of a promise anywhere. This is where you want to do like a try catch, and you want to do the async await. So for future items, in case you're not sure if you need it, that's where the best concept is. So async response equals await axios.get. So, let's go ahead. Yeah. And encompass this all in a try. The try catch. There we go. So here we're not actually going to be displaying the data yet. We just want to see if we can get the items with our context provider and see it in the console of the browser. The goal is that this should pull down developer data. So if I inspect on my system, I should be able to see my terminal something, which I do not, because yeah, we need to reload this page. So don't actually hit the refresh because that might clear out your items. So click on developers again to make sure we don't accidentally clear out our components. Or go to news and then developers. Sorry. No, we do have to refresh, don't we? Might log me out. Oh, I'm dumb. Gotta run the method. Yeah, I'm unauthorized now because I no longer have my login because I refreshed. Dang it. Sign in. It should create my login screen. Logged in again. So here we see I have 7 objects. Most of them are cliff tests, but they're all different at least. So we are getting my developers now. Yeah, if you're not sure if you're logged in or not, just look at the upper right of the nav bar. If you see login sign up, you are not logged in. You need to go create another account.
Could you go back to developers, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Again, line 23, those are backticks around the word bearer. Backticks are this button next to the number 1.
Catch. Response.message. That doesn't like something. Oh. Aha.
All good?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to do quick. I'm a developer here. I think I might manage to do name cohort props developer. I'll go ahead and use border card. Do cohort. That's it. So developer, we just updated it to extract name and cohort from the props.developer and display those 2 fields in a border card. And then back on our developer screen, let's go ahead and do a developers method. Also, at the use effect here, before we do get developers, I like to do the set loading to true, even though it already is. This just makes sure that if we want to reuse this for a refresh or something, we will set it to true again. We implement like a pull down to reload or something like that, or a refresh button or reload button. You can reuse this method. And then inside of our success here, once we are successful, we should set loading to false and set developers to response.data. Once we do that, display developers then should do developers, or sorry, return. Remember correctly, what is the method we use to convert our array of developers to an array of developer components? Is that function we used again? Check out the news, or sorry, the articles component if you can't remember. How do we turn our list of articles into a list of article components? Set it. I don't remember. It's only 6 of you, so be a little forgiving. Only 5 of you actually. I'm
Is that
6.
map?
That is map. Yep. Developers.map. Again, that's going to create a new array based on the elements of the existing array. So developers in an array, so we'll map each element in the array. Dev, we would just say dev. And we're going to return a developer tag with the developer prop being set to dev. Here, I'll just go ahead and say under the hello. Well, actually, let's switch hello. We're going to get rid of the hello now and do instead display developers. Oh, do the semicolon. Dang it. There we go. It is constantly doing it. What's going on there? Wait a minute. Oh, because my use effect does not have the parenthesis comma. So take a look at this quick. Look at the number of requests I currently have going through my system.
Oh, good lord.
This is because I didn't tell use effect to only run once because I forgot to do the comma array.
Oh,
So every time developer gets changed and loading gets changed, it is rerunning this effect and doing it again. So make sure to put that array in there. It is going to tell me that it sees that set loading and set developers is being used. And so it wants those in there because it wants to monitor them since they are being used. They're external variables that won't be used. Since these are functions that won't change, that is fine. Oh, off token is the one it wants, sorry. But that is fine. You can definitely say if the token changes, we probably want to load again. So we'll add off token. So if the token reloads, we will actually get denied and we will delete all the developers. Or maybe, I don't think we will. There we go. Now we loaded one. Now we just loaded once and got all my information and displayed it this time. Just remember to do that array in your use effect.
could you scroll down a little bit, please?
Of course.
Okay. Developer dev, and then oh, wait a minute. Loading. Yeah. And then oh. Can't
Good.
put it in.
Found it.
Possibly. No. Oh, don't put it like that. Just syntax struggling.
It's a little practice. This is
Hmm.
JavaScript and HTML, not Java, so it's different.
Not quite.
Can you share your
It's
screen?
still yeah, it's just giving me the spinner. So
Go ahead and share your
let's
screen.
try that again. So it's just spinning for me.
Okay. Let's go back and look at your code.
Sure.
And we can also use the dev tools if we need to, but let's take a look. Loading. Let's scroll up a little bit. So you do set loading to false. Set developers response.data. Good. You have the display developers. Yeah, let's keep going up a little bit. You do run the method. Good. And are you getting the console.log response.data?
Didn't check.
It's going to help.
Oh,
You're not logged in. You need to sign up again. You have no auth token.
okay. I'll
What's
try that and see what happens.
Yeah. Gotta be logged in for that to work. Currently, if we get a 401, we're not displaying an error message yet. We probably should, but we aren't. So,
Sign up.
anybody else have any problems?
For homework, everybody has to like design a 404 page. So when you click on it, it'll actually pop up.
There you go.
Nope, still spinning.
Share again.
Sure.
In the console, you see
hold on.
your object.
Yes.
I actually see cores.
A course error.
Oh, that's something else though. Maybe, I don't know.
Course
That's
or
weird.
course origin missing.
I think he's got the response there. I don't know, that's the registered response. Why are you getting a cores error on that?
Unless
Do you
he's
not
missing-
have that
unless he's
enabled
missing his
on
cores.
your developer controller?
I should.
IntelliJ?
Yep, right there.
Cross origin. Yeah, you do have it. That is odd.
What's this on line 24? Oh, I think this is my
Oh.
catch. I think that's, oh yeah, line here. Response dot message.
Yeah. I'm not getting it. Because it's getting a course error.
Oh, okay. That's all that is. Okay.
Oh, the uncaught promise and okay. Oh,
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna have e.message. In other words, you only get the e.response.message if you actually get a response from the server. If you don't get a response, just
Okay.
e.message. So in my more complex systems, I do first do a ternary to see if there is an e.response. And if there is,
Mhm.
then I'll do e.response.message. If not, I'll do e.message. This I can already see we're getting blocked. I'm not sure why.
so but his did get changed as developers, does that mean
Yeah.
it get through?
Well, he didn't get a cores block on register. So on his off route, he didn't get a cores block. That's what I'm not sure of. There's gonna be something weird with IntelliJ. Because IntelliJ is not allowing him. Back to IntelliJ again.
Sure.
So your developer's controller has cross origin there.
This is
Security
like
config.
true with the roles.
Oh, these are, yeah, was my debugging.
Oh. Where's your console
Uh,
for your running of your app to
that's
see
it.
what it's doing?
That's
Right
it.
here.
Oh, I see what you're doing. When you're running it, you have these console logs already.
I was,
Mhm.
yeah, I was debugging stuff and I just haven't pulled it out yet.
Web
Okay.
security config.
Sure. Web security config.
Unfortunately, I'm not in the best state of mind to do debugging right now, but I'll do what I can. Scroll down.
Mhm.
So we do have the set course here as well. Just be course, yeah, with no details, so it should be open to everything.
Off and test.
Can you look at your off controller quick?
It should be right. Yeah, zoom, get out of the way.
So go scroll up,
Oh, up. Ah, too far.
cross origin there, and it's happy with that. But then if you compare that to the developer controller, it looks identical, right? Controller,
Should.
developer controller. Yeah.
I mean, if you do this in
Sure.
Postman, it works fine, right?
Yeah. Let's see if it'll do it without freaking
Well,
out
I
this
mean,
time.
cross origin it's just because the two applications can't talk. It's having a problem talking, right?
Yeah, one's on 8080, one's on 88, one's on 8888. So they're on different hosts. One's 80 localhost 8080 and one's localhost 8888. They are considered different origins. So
Sign in. Grab the token. Ah, come here. No, I guess there's already a valid one in here, but
it's fine.
get a new one.
Yeah.
Oh,
API.
API, yep. Just remembered. API/developers.
There we go.
Gets it there.
Hang on that. I'm currently not sure. At the moment, unfortunately, my brain is just not functioning at the moment, so I can try to help tomorrow or later on
Yes.
after Christmas if you
Yeah.
need,
Yeah,
or
that's
What's it
play
like?
around with this.
Wait, it says /developers. It's /API
Oh,
/developers.
He's right.
that would do
There it
it.
is, Freddie. Thank
Eagle-eyed
you.
Freddy. Thank
God
you.
damn. Jesus Christ. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
no
God.
wonder.
Thank you, Freddie. I'm just
He did the same thing in
glazed.
Postman. I had to remind him in Postman. You gotta
Yeah,
do
you
the
did.
same thing.
He doesn't like the word API.
Yeah, I know. Apparently not.
Pop back. Yeah, the developer route doesn't have cores enabled.
Yeah,
Let's go back to your browser now. That should be it.
that should be it. Oh, apparently not.
Close. What? Scroll up a little bit.
Sure.
Here we go. Props to developer is not iterable. Why you wait? What? That doesn't make sense. Go to your developer.js. You shouldn't be iterating that. Oh, that's brackets because it's an
Oh.
object. Props that developer is a bracket, not an array.
Oh.
Line 5. So those would be
Oh.
curly brackets, not an array.
Oh.
Yep.
Ah,
We're extracting from an object. Now you're not logged in, you just refreshed.
Right.
This is why you see all my test numbers.
don't want to yell at me. Good.
And then we still getting the everything should have a unique key prop, which we can do in a
That's
second. as
fine,
we're
but
getting stuff.
things are
Yep.
showing up. That's cool. All right,
Exactly.
thank
So,
you. Good
Back to
catch,
me
Freddie.
quick. Great catch. Thank you for that. My brain is starting to hurt already. I'm gonna be stopping soon. I'm going to take a nap again before just go to bed. Last thing again, in our developers, just to make the system happy and again, so I'm teaching you good practices. Key equals dev dot bleh dot ID.
And that's okay.
That is it. Now we'll be happy.
Key equals
Oh, Jesus Christ, I have too many things. Clear.
dev.id.
Yep.
Now I'm not logged
Make
in.
it happy. So as much as I wish I could have time to do geek outs and stuff, I unfortunately do not. If I feel better over the week or something like that and have the time, maybe I'll try to do a mini video of myself creating a form for the likes for the geek outs. But pretty much you have what you need. You have a form. So you have a system that is needed. I didn't really get to touch base too much on local storage, but that is something that is built into JavaScript. So a simple Google search will explain how to use local storage. That
Some
is
of
not
us
a
have done
React-
local storage already.
I was gonna say, I thought that some of you might have done that with RNL. Same system. We're not local storage is not a React system. That is a JavaScript system. So you can just look that up and follow a simple construction on that. You don't need a React tutorial on local storage. Anything else I can think of? You have your context providers and things like that. You have your use effect, use context, and use state. You now have use navigator. One last item I need to remember. With React Router, you no longer want to use A tags. Do not use A tags for links to other parts of your site because that will actually refresh the page. And as you saw, will knock you out and lose your login. From React Router, you have, and I don't want that away. I go here quick. React Router DOM, which is not what I expected there. I thought that was here. Developers register. Where's my nav bar? Nav button. There it is. Nav button. They have nav link, but they also have link. So that is your new A tag. So if you ever want to put a link to somewhere else in your system, other than like a button using the navigate system, so you can use navigate with a button. If you want to use an A tag for just a simple URL to somewhere else on your site, make sure you use the link component. And it's the only difference between link and A tag is instead of href, you use 2.
But you're still using a tag to go out on the internet somewhere else.
Yes,
in
to
a-
go somewhere external off your site, you would use A tag. So
Hmm.
A tag is A, href, destination, text, A. The link tag, on the other hand, link is 2. Okay, and then just text. So, here, and same logic there. There you go. So I'll just put that there so you have it. So you see the slight difference that at href it's 2, but after that it's identical. You still have the style tag there, so you can do styling, text decoration none, so you lose the underscore and all that stuff. So very identical to the A tag, just links will work within your React app and will not refresh the page or actually reload the page. It'll keep it as a single page application. So the thing to keep in mind is as we are going through these different routes, the website itself isn't actually reloading. We're just navigating to that page on the router here, but React is catching that actual movement on the browser, stopping it, and then just changing the elements that are on the screen to match what you want it to see. So as soon as I type in home, you're going to see that the nav bar reloads. Well, not really, but it does. So that's why we want to make sure we use that link item, not the actual click on. And again, once you get local storage, then you can make sure that your login system stays active. You can add that as a content. You can add that to the auth context provider. So that's where I would put it. So in here, I would create the use effect here to check local storage or check local host to see if there's anything in local storage for a token. And then during login and registration, you can save that to local storage. You can save the token to local storage there as well, or at least the object to local storage. The caveat to local storage, again, is something you can look up. You can only put a string inside of it. However, we already know that we can convert JavaScript objects to and from strings using JSON parse. This will take a stringified JSON and turn it back into a JavaScript object. And JSON.stringify will take a JavaScript object and turn it into a string. And so using these commands, you can actually store objects in local storage. Because local storage only allows you to store a string, but if you can stringify and parse JavaScript objects, you can now put your JavaScript objects in local storage. So you can use those. So I think at the moment, mainly as you build these things out, as you utilize these things, feel free to ask questions in Slack, collaborate, work with each other. We'll do some more again on Thursday of next week. We'll confirm that with Slack again. Make sure. I think that's pretty much the same with the poll. Yeah, 10 to 6. So next Thursday, I will hold the extra class. I'll probably start at like 4 or 5, like 4:30 or 5 o'clock. It'll be like a 4-hour lesson. What we'll do is the first like 30 minutes to an hour, I'll open the floor to any and all questions. And after that, we're just gonna be redoing Java's authentication system. So you have some more questions on that, I just want to see it get built again, you can join for all of it. If you just want to be able to ask questions about your project, React, Java, anything in general, get a breadcrumb or a guidance on what you should do with your project, hop in early for that one, and we'll do that in the first part of the call. Sound good?
Mhm.
Any questions? How daunting does this look? Hopefully not as bad as it probably sounded when you first looked at it.
There's still a lot here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
need to get comfortable with it. We've
Yep.
gone through this at a breakneck pace,
We did, yes.
so there's that element to it as well. But I'm hoping that being able to play around with it over break will be helpful.
Yes. I hope
Yeah,
so too.
same. Like I feel like with practice, basically, would obviously improve a lot.
Yeah.
But it is, I would say, it's less daunting than for me at least, than the authentication system.
Good.
Yes, seconded.
Good, okay. But yeah, no, main thing here, yeah, I'm leaving a lot of elements out of this system. So two things you can do. One, you can start practicing with an Expressian front end. So you could try to build a front end for your Expressian app. You could just continue to play with this app on against the Geeky Likes system, or you can just go ahead and dive straight in by trying to use it with your project. But there's a bunch of ways you could practice your React and find ways of like, well, yep, this isn't working, why not? Then you can ask your questions. But main thing with React is you just need to play with it and understand the difference between a component and a HTML component. So your components, the built-in stuff, and others. And there's a lot of packages out there that make React very nice. There's some really nice form packages. I try to keep it simple by not introducing a bunch of packages, by just doing pure HTML and React. So I try to keep it as simple as possible, but there's a lot of packages for React now. It is a very, very popular front-end system framework. So there's a lot of packages to make things easy. There's capture packages, there's packages for data storage, there's packages like Redux, there's styling packages, there's authentication packages. There's a lot of things out there that makes React easier to use. Yeah, so there's things you can look into. There's something interesting you're trying to do on your front end, you're not sure how to do it with your own components, like drag and drop mechanics and stuff like that. There's probably a package that somebody already created that gives you drag and drop capabilities for your users. So don't be afraid to look up React packages in order to get some additional functionality. So it'll just be a bunch of components. Like I
Yeah,
said,
like-
I use the infinite scroll thing that I've used before is a package. I did not design my own infinite scroll. So I didn't want to try to figure out how to detect that I'm at the bottom of the screen or not. So I was like, I'm not trying to figure out how to detect if I'm at the bottom of a list. So I'm not gonna write all that code. I just looked quick, found a package that does infinite scroll that has an auto load or auto load at the bottom. So that when you get to the bottom of the list, it'll automatically run a method or a function you give it. So you give it a function that says on bottom or on load, and then it'll go ahead and pull again, and it's fairly straightforward. So there's some really nice packages out there for some good functionality that you can make something decent. But again, that's not your focus here. Your focus is just to make sure you can display the data in a human-friendly way, not necessarily a functional way, if that makes sense. Don't panic about your front end looking right. Make sure that your program works. Make sense?
Mhm.
Yep.
Good. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna go back to bed. My head decides to cave in on itself. Mostly it's just a headache. I feel way better than I was a while ago. I'm not as lightheaded as I was at the mall. That was a very bad idea. I should not have gone. I was feeling fine. I'm like, I'm gonna go. We ended up going. We ended up getting we got a bite to eat at the at one of the little Irish pubs downtown. I went to the mall, and then within an hour, I'm almost like, yeah, this is not going well. So, yep, fun day. Thank you guys for joining me. I know it was a odd day because we weren't planning to do this. It was only the 5 of you, so I appreciate that. I'll get this video up to you guys as soon as I can so you can review it. Go ahead and kill the recording now.